Evening to our dear viewers. Today at the Mental Health Hub on our show, Cognitive Contemplations. I'm here today to have a very vital topic that we're going to talk about entitled depression. As we have this session, I, your host, Neil Rodney, will be moderating about this discussion. And we have today our two guests that are going to talk more about what depression means and how best can people be able to overcome depression. As we have this session today, I request that we keep the engagement going. Those that have any questions in regards to the topic we are talking about today, feel free to respond in the comment section or ask on our different platforms, and make sure that through that you keep the engagement going, and we shall be responding to these questions. So today I'll have our dear guests introduce themselves and also have us later on dive into the main discussion for today. So you're most welcome. Yes. I'll have our first speaker introduce himself to us.
Well, thank you so much, Miro Rodini, for hosting us at the Mental Health Hub. Today, as we are at Cognitive Contemplation, the program, we are going to discuss depression. My name is Boniface Pade. I'm a psychologist and a social scientist. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Padi. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you, Mori, for hosting us.
Yes.
My name is Moit Joseph, a psychologist and a social scientist. We're going to talk about the depression in depth because people go through different life events that affect them psychologically, physically. So more is coming. Keep on engaging, asking questions. We shall be answering. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome all of you to this show today. And as we have this discussion, please make sure to really keep the engagement going. We want to respond to all those questions so that today we leave the topic of depression fully covered. So at this point in time, I know very many people have been using the word depression, though very few understand what it actually means for someone to be depressed. So today, as I have our guest speakers for today, they'll try to explain to us what it means for one to be depressed and help us break it down to the layman's language that people can understand, and for those that are affected by it, have them get treatment and also medical attention. So I'll welcome our first speaker of the day to take us through, help us break down what it actually means for one to be depressed.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to discuss depression.
Yes, sir.
Just like you said, depression is one of those events, or let me say those challenges that people go through and they actually don't know they are going through them.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yes.
Now, most people say I'm stressed.
Yeah.
People think that every time you feel uneasy or every time they feel bad about something,
Yeah.
they are what?
Yeah.
Stressed.
Yeah.
Some actually don't give it attention, and yet they are going through what? Depression. So there has not been a particular, let me say, a particular definition that has been put out to define depression.
Yeah.
But then we can look at, we can look at, let me say, for us to best define depression, we look at someone who is going through that what that session. Yes.
Yeah.
So depression is the persistent feeling of sadness, loneliness, lowness.
Okay.
Like if someone is going through depression, they are always sad persistently.
Yes.
We are looking at people who are not always sad, because there are people who
Yeah.
are naturally sad.
So
So you might find someone who is naturally sad and then you think they are what?
They are
They are
depressed.
depressed. No. So we are looking at a persistent, it's like a persistent shift in the mood of someone.
Okay.
The reason why we say persistent, it doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that it sticks to you until death, but it takes long.
Yeah.
Because as you know, it is normal to feel sad.
Yeah.
For example, you've lost someone, you've lost a job.
Yeah.
It is normal to what? To feel sad.
sad.
But then for depression, it stays
Yeah.
for somewhat, for some time. Yes. So don't say that I lost someone, I'm sad, then you're depressed. No. There is a time frame that is provided by the health professionals for it to be considered what? Depression. So it is that situation. Yeah, that is how best I can put it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pade. I'll have Mr. Moti also tell us more about, briefly, how you can break down the word depression, that our dear viewers and our audience can be able to understand it well. Most welcome, Mr. Moti.
thank you, Rodin.
Yes, sir.
As I told you before, that depression it's a mental disorder, as you hear as mental. People go through different depression, and I hear most people say, only people who are poor are the one who go through depression. Okay. But it doesn't matter about the age or the background. Someone may be very okay, but he goes under maybe setting up something or a school, but due to different circumstances that come in, he needs to bring this in, so he goes through a lot. Someone has lost some a parent, they go through depression. But that is treatable when you seek for earlier advice. They can help you. You can go to the hospital. You can go to a psychologist. We are there. That's why we have said keep on engaging. Shall at least by the end of this session, you shall see how you can solve or treat depression.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Moti. Today, as we are discussing this topic, as I began, I told you that very many of us mistake depression for quite a very number of things. And those are the signs and symptoms. Very many people consider very small to talk about or describe themselves to be going through depression. Though today, I'm also going to have our dear guest speakers today explain to us what are the main causes that bring about depression. And as one of our guest speakers told us, it's a persistent thing that carries on, and it is not right for you to just come out and say I'm depressed. It has time attached to it, it has causes attached to it, it has signs and symptoms attached to it. So we are going to first dive into the causes that bring about depression, or what are the common things that do bring people to the state of depression. I welcome Mr. Paddy to take us through that session. Thank you.
Are we looking at the causes?
Yes.
Well, some of the causes I can talk about, I'll talk about two, then we'll take on. First of all, I will look at underlying clinical conditions.
Okay.
There are some people who go through depression when it is carried on genetically. Like, for example, maybe your parents or your great-grandparents, some of them used to go through depression. There is what we call genetics matters a lot in this topic of what depression. However, it is so much ignored. You find people asserting and maybe should we call them myths or superstitions? You find someone saying, maybe for example, there is a family where due to depression someone committed suicide, and you find that after some time, maybe the children or the grandchildren, one of them commits what? Suicide due to depression. You'll find some people saying it is witchcraft, maybe baba kolimira bichi. So eventually ebisinga, they come along due to genetics. Sometimes people get depressed because there is a history of depression in their what? In their family. Then another thing I can talk about is pre-existing medical conditions. For example, if you look at someone maybe who has, let me say, cancer, or let me say someone who is HIV positive, or any medical condition, you know, people who have medical issues, underlying medical issues, let me say sickle cells, they know they are not going to get, they might not get soon, any soon, or they are maybe even due to the stigma in society. So they end up worrying, they end up losing interest, they lose their confidence, they lose their interest in things they used to love doing. So that is why we end up saying that this person is what? Is depressed. So those are some of the strong causes I can't go out without discussing when it comes to depression. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pade. I'll hand over to Mr. Moti to also tell us what are the most common causes that bring about depression that our audience needs to know about today.
Thank you, Mori. On top of Bonnie's causes, I'll add on some of the life events people go through.
Yes.
I'll give an example of brief that happened recently in Congo.
Yes.
Where we saw the president assassinating over 170 teenagers. So such parents who went through that, who lost their kids, it will hurt them. They will be every day, each and every day they see that it will affect them first of all mentally. So they will be going through. He has lost a kid. the one maybe is expecting that in the future you'll help him.
Be able to help. Sure.
You'll see another personal traits like where you find so low self-esteem.
Yes.
Someone can't. Maybe I'll give you an live example. Like I'm going to do public speaking to the people.
Yeah.
So I'm first of all I'm worried.
Yes.
What am I going to talk?
Yeah.
I may be having, but there's where you see someone get scared.
Yeah.
So that thing also it affects someone. Say I'm depressed, but that is you can overcome it.
Yeah.
Once you set up yourself and say, program yourself, I'm going to do this and that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moti. As he has discussed, I believe many of you are getting to understand much more about the topic of discussion today, being depression. What I personally have also picked through their discussions is that depression is something that you can overcome with time or something that can be solved. So it's not a must that if you're going through depression, it's something that you will face for your entire life. So today, as we discuss this topic, I know very many questions are coming through. We shall be able to respond to most of them as the discussion goes on. So we shall be pushing to our next question. Today, I'll ask our guest speakers to also tell us what are the signs and symptoms a person can look out for to point out and say, so and so seems not to be fine. They must be going through depression. Like the people around them, very few may come out to say that I'm depressed. But for the people around us, how best can they know that such and such a person seems to be going through depression? You're most welcome, Mr. Padi.
When you look at when we are looking at the signs,
Yeah.
let me before I go any further, let me take you back to the definition.
Yeah.
The persistent feeling of lawlessness,
Yeah.
feeling loss of interest in things you love to do,
Yeah.
you previously loved to do.
Hmm.
For example, you're a person who enjoys what? Football.
Yeah.
But then time comes and you no longer want maybe
Yeah.
to watch,
Hmm.
maybe to go play or something like that.
Yeah.
This is something that used to give you joy. For example, most people when they have an issue, when they have a challenge,
Okay.
they go on doing things they love most or they love most.
Yes.
Actually, some call them their hobbies.
Hobbies.
Yes.
Okay.
But then you find out that someone is having an issue, but they can't do what they used to love. I know Moiti loves football so much, but
Yes.
then Arsenal is playing and Moiti is not going to do what?
Going
To
to
watch. That will pose a question. Is he really? It doesn't, anyway, it is not conclusive
Yeah.
that when he hasn't done that, then that means he's
Depressed.
but it is a sign, meaning it is part of those things you can look out and say and start um, pointing out. When you see such, maybe you can look out for other what? Other symptoms and signs. Like for example, shift in the moods. Shift in the moods, for example. The reason why we are calling it shift in the moods is that the people who go through depression and they get to be so low. For example, someone who was very jolly, someone who would ask a number of questions, someone who would interact with friends and all that. When they are depressed, they go low. That is the shift in mood that they go low. You'll be like, they used to be such a jolly person. You would be interactive and all that. So you end up seeing them. You end up seeing this person. They are no longer the way they used to be. Their moods, actually, we can in layman's language, we can call them mood swings.
Okay.
Okay, there is an extent where mood swings are normal, but then there is an extent where you look at mood swings and they are not normal.
Yeah.
For example, it can also be hyper. Someone
Yeah.
can be going through depression and they are high. They hit the bar.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying the bar, the other bar.
It's like
But
yes,
they hit the top notch. For example, someone is usually humble. Tebayogera nnyo naye n'otuuka ku mulimu nga rodini ayogera kino nakiri asawula okitegeere. So such people are what? Are depressed. Why? The reason why sometimes we bring about a shift in we look at that we see a shift in the moods is that some people try some of them are trying to either cover up or for some it comes automatically. Otunuulira omuntu eyali omusirifu ennyo nga because they have maybe depression ayinza obba nga eva waka n'ajja ku mulimu nga that's where they find their peace. N'ayogera nnyo ye, you know, nga it is excess. Then you find some people that they were jolly, they were outspoken, but then because of depression, they start nasala pressure. Sometimes it's because the people around they feel like the people around are also a contributing factor towards what they are going through.
Okay.
So that one can also be, we can look at it as a sign. Then also the change in appetite levels.
Okay.
Why I'm saying a change is because some people come out and say loss of appetite. No, someone can be depressed and they eat a lot.
Okay.
Ng'omanyi bulungi rodin talya nnyo
Yeah.
naye rodin ng'ali depressed n'omutuuza ku lusaniya
I'll leave it at that.
n'alokuba
China
ettaala.
Charlie.
That's why you see
Mm.
some people that is why we see a change in the weight.
Okay.
Some people can be depressed and they grow fat.
Yeah.
Some people they can be depressed and they what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
They
a nice
call
one.
it some people revenge on food.
Okay.
I'm stressed, I'm depressed, I'm worried about this and this and this. And get married.
No.
So among other factors, among other symptoms, those are symptoms me personally I can't ignore. So if you're out there and you can see those signs, you can look out for more. When you see 2, 3, 4, then seek medical attention and see if the diagnosis to come out in support of what? Depression. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padi. I'll also have Mr. Mo to tell us briefly about, tell us more briefly about the symptoms or the signs and symptoms that one should look out for to see that a particular person must be going through depression. As we have said, it's not conclusive that when you see the first one, the second one, you should jump out and say someone is depressed, but we're able to see this from a number of symptoms as we are discussing today. So I'll have to welcome Mr. Moti to take us through more signs and symptoms that we should look out for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to the viewers, we are still on and we are still pushing on about depression.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to talk few of the symptoms that people go through.
Yes.
I'm going to mention we shall have social withdrawal, we shall have fatigue also is among them.
Okay.
So let me first talk about social withdrawal.
Yeah.
This is where you find someone has been interacting, at least maybe I can say in the class, because this is a live thing that you can do. Someone has been active in class.
Yes.
The teacher asks a question, gives in. So the following day you find someone is totally down, he's not active in it, he has withdrew away from the public, he's alone, where you find in loneliness come in.
Okay.
So as a person who is too active in class, at least the teacher will ask that, what's wrong with Pade? That day is he's alone and he's not active in class.
Yeah.
That will create a question. That means since he's a teacher will be a professional teacher, will come in to ask what's wrong.
Okay.
Then once the teacher seeks deep in it, they will find a solution to about it.
Okay.
Then we shall see also there we find the fatigue comes in. Someone will be having maybe excess energy or less energy. From now you find you're tired. The brain is tired and yet you used to do overtime. So when you see that, you say, there is something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Or even your supervisor will know this person is not what? Okay.
It's not right.
You find someone has lost weight. That means there is something disturbing him.
Yeah.
So those are some of the symptoms. You find someone has overslept. Even a parent will wonder. I'll give you another example here. You find maybe they've checked me.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I go back home, maybe the event happened when I was at school or I'm in town.
Yeah.
Perhaps I've been talking on the phone. They'll wonder why has Moit slept from. I've gone past. It's midday. I'm still in bed. They wonder what's wrong. I'm what? There's something going through my mind.
Yeah.
So people go through that. So I advise my dear parents, there are some symptoms that you see and come in immediately to avoid some extent where you find you think your child is inside sleeping, kumbe is doing some harmful. You find even they have committed suicide.
Yes.
Because of such events, because they don't know how to solve them.
Yeah.
So oyingiramu ng'omuzadde n'ogamba omwana kyekimu lwaki yeebase nnyo, lwaki akoowa nnyo mangu ate yali akola bwe kiti, lwaki tali interactive ne banne. So awo osanga nga alina okunoonya ba professional psychologist oba gwe ng'omuzadde naawe n'oyingiramu and you help him. Back the mic to the moderator.
Yes.
Shall keep in touch. Keep sending the questions.
Yes.
Shall we? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moti. As we're having this discussion, as I've told you, it is not conclusive. Do not look at one thing and conclude that a person is depressed. Why I repeat this, the same topic that we are discussing about today, at times, as research has brought it up, that very many people are caught up by the stigma brought about by society. How can a man be depressed? How can you be depressed? Why are you calling certain bad things onto yourself? Something like that. But we should understand that it is something that is very vital in terms of our mental health. So as they have discussed about the symptoms or the signs and symptoms we should look out for, we should know that they are not conclusive, but they show that something is not right. Something that I've also picked from our guest speakers today is depression is not something that is a one-time thing, but it's a constant change in behavior. Something that you used to do normally, you are suddenly shifting from it. It could be for the good, and that's for someone that is seeking to develop themselves. But if it's changing for the worst, then we must look out for depression. That pushes me to our next question, to our guest speakers of today. I've heard you talk about depression and how it does come about and the certain causes and symptoms. At this point in time, we're going to dive into who are the key players or who are the key people that we can consider to reach out to help us understand how best we can overcome this depression and which people should we look out to in terms of building a support system to help people overcome depression. I heard Mr. Moti talk about teachers. I believe in their courses as they do study, they are taught how to deal with their students, and certain things like that do help certain children skip those stages, though those that are not pointed out or are not seen clearly, how best can we have how can we best develop a support system to help people overcome depression in our country as Uganda. Thank you, Mr. Pai.
What I can say, first of all, the responsibility of parenting should be taken back in the homes.
Okay.
Abazadde omulimu gw'okuza abaana guddeyo mu maka nga bwe gwalinga edda. Ennaku zino abaana bakulira ku masimu, abaana bakulira ku tablets, abaana bakulira ku TV. Nti omwana ne waba alina kyayitamu ekitali kituufu oba ekimunyigiriza, omuzadde tojja kukola ki? Tojja kimanya. So when we're looking at the key players, the parent has the primary role in regards to mental health, in regards to depression, in question. Why? Because most of the time obudde omwana bw'amala ewaka bungi nnyo. Mwiti yayogedde ku basomesa. Otunula obudde omwana bw'amala n'abazadde n'amasomesa, that is the biggest time. That is the biggest amount of time. Actually, those are the people a child spends more time with. But it goes back to the parent, because even this teacher also has their own what? Children. Or they even have their roles what? To play. So as a parent, it is a primary role for you to look out for the signs, not conclusively, the ones we've discussed, but even more. Or when you look out for the signs that we've discussed, then that should give you the reason as to why you should what?
You should look
Out for more. Yes. Olaba omwana akola ki? Omwana asiba yeebase nga bwe batugambye, omwana takyalya oba omwana alya nnyo. Not even omwana yekka, but now we are looking at parents. Yes. So as a parent, it should be a primary role for a parent to point out that their child is not in the normal what? Condition. The mental status is not okay. You understand? Then another key player in this can be the family. I talked about the parent, but when I bring out the family, I'm not only looking at the parent. We can look at the siblings. We can look at, if it is a family, we can look at a spouse. We can look at the children. You can identify your parents also depressed.
Yes, they
We can also look at siblings, brother, sister. You understand? So you look at you look out for the signs that we have put down, and then see that someone is not what okay. So in any fight, if we are to fight against depression, which might not end tomorrow or today, the parents and the family, parents are not necessarily family. I mean, family may not necessarily parents, but parents are what? Family. So the family is the bigger picture of it all. We should look out for those signs because this person abaganda bagamba nanyini mufu yakola ki yakwata awawonya. So otubanga tuli bakulwanyisa depression, it is starts at the family level because it's a basic unit in society. Family, it starts at home. That's why they say charity begins at home and does not end there. So in case we are to fight anything, it should start at home as a family. Don't ignore people. Enaku zina I see you obera ngolaba nga iba saying owomukwana singa owoluganda bishi bishi. But well, I won't delve much into that. But family is key because blood is thicker than what? Than water. Then I think for now I can end there about the key players. We can have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paddy. As he has also talked about the key players, why we are pointing out this is to understand how best can we really help people that are going through depression. Very few cases are supposed to really be recommended or go to the point whereby you need to seek for medical attention. But in its initial stages, how best can people overcome depression? And this, we are aided by the key players of the day. So I'll invite Mr. Moti to also tell us what people should we point out to or look out to help the community and the people around us overcome depression. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mori.
Yes.
Back to the viewers, the more advice I'll give you. First of all, I'll start with us, the psychologists who are on the platform. Feel free to come to me. Call me. You have the YouTube channels. Look through it and see where you need, which problem you have. We are there to help. I also refer you to psychologists outside there. We have mental health hub in Uganda. That is mental health hub association that Uganda's country created in. They are there to help us. We have psychotherapists. They are there. Feel free. Once you be open and speak out, someone will get chance to help you. We'll know, yes, he's going through this. What should we do? And we see where to come in. There are people ignore. That's why way back I'll find where I said depression. It doesn't matter. The background or the age. Whether you're young, whether you're mature. I'll give you an example. You find when in a family we have lost someone, and the public will ignore the younger kids, and they go onward, consoling the mother and the what? Maybe if it's the dad who has died, they will come to the mom. They will talk to the mom, please be strong, and they forget that as young generation also we get affected. Parents and the public outside there, take this as serious note. Always also kids, see how to talk to them. Don't always leave them. They go through a lot. Once you ask him, you at least when you get time and talk to them, they'll be more depressed, more than what? More than a mom or a dad. Because as a mature person, you'll see how to solve. But as a kid, you find them, you maybe end up what? Changing the way of behaving. Someone who has been performing in class, once he recalls the love that mama has been showing, you find out he starts deteriorating. He doesn't perform the way he used. He starts being alone. So such things, we advise the parents to do that and the community, because it is not only the parents. once someone go through, as a society, we are supposed to come in and help in. Those are the people that I can refer to you. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moti, for that insightful talk that we have just had. As we have pointed out, these are the people that you can first reach out to be able to receive assistance in case you start experiencing any of the signs and symptoms we began discussing about or that we talked about before. Please reach out to these key players that we have pointed out to get assistance. As I know very well, very many people do have what we call, I don't know if many of you have heard about myths revolving around depression. In certain ways, there are certain talks that come up and say, how can a man really be depressed? People are supposed to be standing, or people should be having you as their support system. How can you be depressed? Depression is for women, something like that. But we should understand that depression is actually a widespread infection all over the world. And today we come out to talk about it because it's a vital thing that leads to affecting our mental health. And today as a mental health hub, we have had this discussion to continuously discuss more and more topics that contribute to our mental health. Today, I remain me already as the host. As we conclude this session, I'll have a small word to the viewers as we conclude the session. Shall have our guest speakers tell us more about what you should look out for, and for those questions that we have had in the comment section, and for the more engagement that we are going to have on this video, we shall have another video to explain and talk more about it. So I'll welcome Mr. Padi to say something to our viewers as we conclude the session. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, our dear viewers. As we're concluding, um, just like you said, that depression, just like we've all been saying, depression is something that is not exclusive to a given group of people, to a given age. By the fact that people still think that a man should not be depressed, this kind of person should not be depressed, depression is for the poor and what. I want to tell you that that depression is for everyone. Everyone at some point in time will undergo depression. But how do you curb it? How do you put a stop? How do you overcome it? That is the reason why we are coming out. First of all, it is very important for us as the community and as the generation, because our country is so much composed of younger generations than the old. So you look at the statistics, between 15 to 29 years of age, children commit suicide, or that age bracket, that age group. Such people commit suicide out of depression. Why? Because mental health as an aspect has been ignored so much by the government, by the key players in society, and yet it is one of the things that should be looked at so much. Because now when I have malaria, I can know, I can feel it. When I get a wound, when I get an accident, someone can look at me and know. But mental health, it is within my what? My brain. It is very hard for someone to look at me and tell. That is why, in my conclusion, I'll emphasize that we look out for the campaigns. We should carry out more and more awareness campaigns for people to know that it is not normal for you to feel this way. It is not normal for you to feel this way. But again, that doesn't mean that you should be considered a mad person. Some people think that when someone is not mentally stable, they are mad. No, that is a very wrong reference. So someone can be going through depression, but maybe when they just need a small talk. So as we are concluding, I will emphasize that we so much delve into mental health awareness campaigns that the masses can know. How do I know I'm depressed? This and this, is it normal? If it is normal or if it is abnormal, how do I go by it? Yeah, so that is how basically we can get done with this, how best we can deal with this. Yeah, that is my conclusion. We have a lot to submit, but we shall be interacting more and more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fadi. Yes, I'll also have our second speaker of the day tell us something that we should get to know, and we shall have more and more engagements. Allow me to invite Mr. Moti to give a conclusive speech. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. At least it has been an active session.
Yes.
I'll give very few examples of depression that people go through.
Mm.
First of all, let me start with our daily
Right.
event that we go through. Someone who doesn't have a parent who doesn't have money and he knows he has kids at home,
Yeah.
that parent will go through depression because first of all he will first start thinking about what are my kids going to eat tomorrow. Kids are opening up school, they need to go back to school. I need I don't have transport to use to come back to what to work. First of all, totally he doesn't have someone who is poor or someone who doesn't have. That's why I told you the background also matters. If I don't have something in the pocket, I'll go through depression. I'll think a lot,
Yeah.
which will end up someone with the result of stealing, doing this, doing robbery.
Yeah.
So if you're poor, it doesn't mean that you should. That's the end of life. Just know you still have a lot. I'll talk about also people who have our brothers who are going through HIV and AIDS. Those people also are going through a lot. They face depression too much because he knows that's other people think that that's the end of my life since I have HIV. No.
Yeah.
Once you go through and take medicine, get involved with them. Because I'll tell you that HIV doesn't. You can't get affected with HIV when you greet someone with HIV. No. Even though you exchange clothes, you can't get affected with HIV. Sure. Those are your brothers, and they're still our brothers. Keep in touch with them. At least they will change, you'll bring in. At least he will not fall into much depression. Sure. If I have a brother who has HIV, when I go there and talk to them, I tell them what is going through the world, the current. At least there's TikTok. Put them, they see what's there. Yeah. There's a way that depression will go through. There's a way we help them. Yes. Also in our culture, culture also has created a lot of depression. Yeah. I'll give an example of people in Sebei, the Sabines, where they circumcise what? Ladies. Yeah. Since a woman knows at a certain time he must be what? Circumcised. That depression he goes through, it's a lot. That's why I gave a credit to our government where he started removing that cultural thing. People now are coming in. You find a lady grows up when it's very okay. That's why you see they find them okay. I'm not saying that they're too small, but when you compare them to the Western people from that side, there's that size. Yeah, so they feel that too depressed. So I give you that. Coming back, I call in. Keep on actually sending the messages, asking questions. We shall be answering you. Thank you so much, Marita, for hosting us. I'm with Joseph, a psychologist and a financial scientist.
Thank you very much. Well, today, as I've had in our panel today, we invited these psychologists to be able to take us through this topic why they understand how best to be able to overcome it. So feel free to reach out to them and also ask any questions that you have in regards to mental health and maybe special topic depression. So as we conclude today's session, I want to invite all of you to always keep up our shows. We shall keep posting more and more good videos to ensure that we keep all those questions answered and keep you posted about your mental health. Mental health is very important for it describes how you're going to live your life in the future. So I remain Rodney, the moderator for today's session. Have a lovely day, our dear viewers and our dear audience.